Once upon a time, there was a kingdom that was abounded in magic given by the moon goddess from the bow he shot. Nevertheless, the villain Hades made up her mind to encroach on the territory of Lucia, so as to gain what she wanted. The war between goddess and the mortal just kicked off. During the period, the deity sacrificed herself and her weapon was deeply buried under the ground. After 200 years, the scoundrel assaulted the place as well as rooted the arms. On account of that, the king mandated the most distinguished warrior to bring the bowl back along with saving their home.
1,000 years ago, the moon goddess had a weapon of destiny called Lunar Asclepius Bow, whose power could destroy the whole world. The evil god, Hades, who wanted to grab the Lunar Asclepius Bow and use that to occupy the whole world. The moon goddess knew that, and she and Hades had a war to protect the bow. The moon goddess knew that her power was not stronger than Hades, so she used her power to sacrifice herself to repel Hades, and to seal the Lunar Asclepius Bow into the country, which called Lucia. After 200 years ago, later, Hades came back and wanted to find the weapon of destruction. Now, the three heroes, Jason, Roger, and Jenna, would protect the country from being occupied by Hades. Hades dispatched her most loyal and brave subordinate, Ariel, to retrieve the Lunar Asclepius Bow. Ariel used the information that Hades had so far to the moon goddess palace in the territory of Lucia and brought thousands of soldiers. The king of Lucia knew that Ariel was about to arrive, and he immediately sent all the soldiers to defend the palace. Ariel used the power of terror element to absorb all the terror in the land and sent into soldiers of Lucia. The soldiers of Lucia were instantly caught by the terror. After the soldiers of Lucia submerged, Ariel won the Asclepius Bow without any blood, and led the army back to their territory. The king of Lucia heard the bad news from the war and decided to send the best warriors in the country, Jason and Roger, to retrieve the Lunar Asclepius Bow. Jason used the power of water to create a river, and Roger used his wood power to make a boat. They used their ability to quickly reach the territory of Hades. The two sides fought fiercely. Roger first used his water ability to attack Ariel, who had just returned to the territory, but Ariel was remaining unharmed. Instead, he controlled the terror bow to knock Roger away. Jason used magic to conjure a water ball and threw it on Ariel's head, knocked him to the ground, and Ariel fainted. Before Jason was about to find the ball, at the time, Hades appeared and shot many golden arrows at Jason with magic. Jason was badly injured. Seeing that he was outnumbered, Jason hurried fled the territory and joined Roger, who was also injured. Jason said, "Hades is too powerful. We must find a magician with the ability to overcome God to have a chance to take back the Lunar Asclepius Bow." Roger and Jason went to find Jenna, because use her power could let us to fight with Hades and recapture the Lunar Asclepius Bow. On the road, Roger and Jason found everywhere but didn't see where did Jenna go. When they wanted to get up, corrupted country come to their mind, so they didn't give up to find Jenna. When they find Jenna, she's just in her home, but they didn't see her because they were too careless. Because they are careless, they waste time to fight with Hades. When they found Jenna, Jenna said that the Lunar Asclepius Bow had a great power to destroy the whole country and the whole world. Well, obey Hades. Jenna said use her power can only one time to fight with Hades. Jenna used her healing spells to heal them. Roger, Jason, and Jenna were preparing to go to the stand to find Hades and regain the Lunar Asclepius Bow. When they went to stand again, the soldiers saw them and informed Ero to come to the city gate. When Ero saw Jenna, she trembled because Jenna is Reed's daughter. Reed was the most powerful enemy to Hydas. Jenna inherited all the power of her father and possessed the most powerful fire spell in this land. Ero took the lead to attack and control the rocks behind her to attack them. Roger immediately built up a wooden wall with branches. Then Jason raised the water sword and rushed towards Ero, and Ero used an earth shield to block it. With a sword, she raised her axe and slashed toward Jason. The two fought fiercely. Jenna and Roger also stepped forward to attack Ero, but Ero could always block their attacks. Ero stepped on the ground forcefully, and the ground shook and cracked violently. Jason and Roger fell into the crack, and they saw Jenna floating in the air, closing her eyes and chanting a spell. Waving her hand, the staff summoned 6 fireballs. It flew into the sky, spelled into hundreds of fireballs, turned into meteors, and fell towards Ero. Facing such a strong attack, Ero's shield gradually became unable to withstand the fireball and broke his shield. At this time, Jason crawled out of the crack, raised the water sword, and pierced Ero's heart, giving she a fatal blow.
Allure was almost at his last gasp, owing to the lethal attack from Jason. As for Hydas, she stood in the gate with tears and attempted to save her current. Nonetheless, it was too late for her to recover him from the incurable assault. Allure was dead. Suddenly, Jenna summoned a huge fireball so as to end Hydas' life. She escaped from that and made up her mind to fight back for her fellow. Hydas spelled the curse in order to create a suit of armor as well as a sword. She hit the roof, dashed to Jason, who finally killed Allure, and endeavored to speak him with her weapon. After millions of offensive and defensive warfare, both of them not only ran out of their energy, but also feel exceedingly exhausted. Roger, along with Jenna, seized the golden opportunity to participate in the world. At that moment, Roger summoned plenty of tree giants, and Jenna beckoned a flaming phoenix as well as the wyvern. The giant broke the ground into several pieces, which gave Hydas a hard time standing fairly. Then the wyvern flew up to the sky and made the land a white fire. So did the phoenix. Ultimately, Hydas had no power to protect herself from those fierce onslaughts. She succumbed, leaving the lunar bound beside her. Roger, Jason, and Jenna were the fearless warriors from the kingdom. They earned a big triumph and brought the bow back, even though they nearly passed out.
In the end, they were in a coma. They took the bow back to the palace grounds of Rukia, and they lay in a coma for a week. When they woke up, the king announced the medals of the 3 brave warriors. Afterwards, they started a celebration banquet until the sun rose in the sky. After this war, the country of Rukia tried to prevent this from happening again in future generations. So they took the big step towards their country's defense system. As anyone knows, the descendants of Uru are still growing slowly. The danger to Rukia is slowly approaching. To be continued.